and I'll show you a prime example. Everyone's favorite game, Don't Be Arrogant, for the PlayStation Portable. Today on the channel, we're going to be taking a look at the Powkiddy A20. This is the latest vertical orientation retro emulation handheld from Powkiddy with a new upgraded processing power. Inside the box, well, there's nothing really to write home about because all you're essentially going to get is a little bit of the instruction manual and a USB-C charging cable. Inside the box though, we do have an upgraded CPU, so you're gonna have better processing power and better experience overall with some of the more advanced systems like Dreamcast, Nintendo 64, PlayStation Portable. This does have a 3.5-inch IPS display, resolution is 640 by 480, so not exactly ideal for some of your older consoles like Game Boy, but the screen itself does look great, no washout, no color bleed or anything like that. Looks great from all viewing angles. Design of the console itself, as you can see, it's laid out with an arcade button configuration. We got 6 action buttons across the face. We have an analog stick up here that does not have any L3 or R3 support, so don't try to depress it because it's not really going to do anything for you. You got the D-pad up here. You have your home menu, your select, your start, which functions as your coin and your start for your arcade games. On the left-hand side of the console, we have our power button, and we have our volume up and down buttons. On the right-hand side, there's absolutely nothing. And then on the back side, we have our L and R trigger buttons. We have a micro HDMI out. We have our 3.5mm headphone jack, and then we have a reset button. On the bottom of the console, we have our USB-C charging port. We have our speaker port, and then your micro SD card covered up by this little rubbery TF slot. It is expandable up to 256 gigabytes. This one came preloaded with a 64 gigabyte SD card. Or excuse me, micro SD card that came preloaded with thousands and thousands of games. And one thing to note though is if you're using this external HDMI out, well, you're going to be seeing 16:9 widescreen images for any console you're playing, no matter what. It doesn't matter how it displays on the screen, it's going to show up widescreen and stretched on that. So if that's a deal breaker for you, this is definitely not the console for you because you can't change that any way, shape, or form. While you're playing it on the console, it's going to be 4:3 aspect ratio. However, like I said, anytime you try to output it through that HDMI, it's going to immediately transfer it over to widescreen. Games themselves, as you can see, we have a very basic kind of configuration here with our user interface. This is the Powkiddy box user interface. Everything's broken up by category. You got your systems, PSP, Dreamcast, Nintendo 64, PlayStation, Neo Geo, Capcom System 1, 2, 3, you got your Final Burn Alpha, you got your MAME, Game Boy, Game Boy Advance, Game Boy Color, Mega Drive, NES, Super NES, TurboGrafx, WonderSwan Color, and then back to PSP. Everything's very easy to navigate, easy to determine what you want to play. You're simply just going to select the game, roll down there. You will see some scrubbed images of some preview videos, but as you can see, not all of them have the preview video. In my experience, it's probably about a mixed bag, 50-50. The ones that do have preview videos and the ones that don't. And while that might not be a deal breaker, it is a little bit concerning because a lot of the games on here, well, they have some very poor translations. In fact, these are all translated directly from Chinese to English and not the other way around. So a lot of these games are going to have some squirrely names that it's going to maybe make you scratch your head and wonder what game you're even trying to find. And speaking of trying to find them, you can search for the game. So you go to the top menu bar up there, go to search, type in the game you're looking for, and then it'll pull it up. However, again, going back to the squirreliness of the naming structure of a lot of these files, you may or may not have a hard time finding the game you want to play, because I'll show you a prime example. Everyone's favorite game, Don't Be Arrogant, for the PlayStation Portable. I mean, it's a smash hit. Everybody's widely familiar with this game. Heavy sarcasm, because that's what I'm talking about. Things like that. And since there's no preview video, I mean, you have no idea what that game is until you try to select it. So that is one of the biggest criticisms of this system right here with the preloaded console and the games and everything on this SD card. In terms of menu options, you're going to hit the home button and you're going to bring up the system settings. You can go to handheld settings, key settings, enter the game market. This also has Wi-Fi and Bluetooth support, so if you wanted to go to your handheld settings, configure it, set it up with your local Wi-Fi network connection, then you can go out there and download games off of their questionable store. So you'll go to enter the game market once you've connected to the Wi-Fi, and it'll show you the various different consoles that this supports, and then you can download games directly from that. I'll let you dictate whether or not that is for you. This also does have Android support. You can go into the Android app list. However, it doesn't come with anything preloaded, so unless you're an advanced user and you're willing to sideload some APKs and sideload something like the Google Play Store, this is not going to be something you're going to be utilizing as a common user. In fact, this is basically, designed for somebody that just picks it up, turns it on, plays some games. No configuration necessary. You just play the game you want to play, and that's it. That's what this kind of device is meant for. So if you're looking for an all-inclusive device that does everything, plays Android games, while this does do it, you will have to go through some extra hurdles to get that type of thing working on this system. Other settings available is obviously you can change the language. That isn't going to help with the file structure or the naming of any of the games. There's two themes. There's a blue one and then a dark gray one. And then you can reset the console to its factory settings, and that is basically it. You can, if you want to, change the configuration of the keys. Overall, not a whole lot of settings. If you're wanting to get into a deep dive into advanced emulator settings for each system, that's not going to be something you're going to be able to do, at least not until you go to the Android side of things. This does run Android 9.0, which is impressive, but yet again, isn't set up specifically out of the box for heavy Android use. Namely, everything you're going to be using and playing on this is built for their little Powkiddy box setup. In terms of emulation quality on this system, everything I tested for the most part was actually quite impressive. PlayStation Portable, Nintendo 64, Dreamcast games, all of them for the most part ran quite well, or ran well enough to be considered playable games. You can add your own games that are not built into the system if you want. Not only can you download them through their little store, but you can also pop out the SD card, put it in your computer, bring your ROM files over, and then put it into the system, and it works just fine. At the end of the day, this is a very impressive all-in-one little retro emulation handheld console, specifically for those people out there that are looking just to pick it up and play. They don't need to go through the extra hassles of loading things and changing setting menus to get games to work. Everything, for the most part, out of the box works exceptionally well. My main criticism and issue with this system, though, however, again, goes back to the file name and the structure of all the ROMs themselves. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense if you can play these amazing, powerful games if you can't freaking find the game you're trying to actually play due to the squirrely nature of the translation. So if that's something that's an issue for you and you're worried about, definitely steer clear from this console. However, if you don't mind digging into the weeds for those games, well then, by God, they'll actually play pretty well, and you'll enjoy your handheld experience with this Powkiddy A20. If you're interested in picking one up, I'll put a product link down in the video description box below. That does it for this video review. Hope you found the information helpful. If you did, make sure you hit that like button, share this video with your friends, and as always, thanks for watching, guys. It really means a lot.